Hello, it's great to see you again. I'm contemplating creating TBRs for each quarter, so this will be my TBR for February and March. Since I already did one for January, we're just gonna put the rest of the quarter together. And then in theory, I will wrap up my reading for the quarter instead of each month. Because each month I'm not reading a whole lot, so we're gonna make it a little more entertaining. I hope to have more books instead of just like 2 or 3 each month. So this is kind of an ambitious TBR also, because there are a lot of books here. Jade from JD Ray Reads on YouTube has announced a new round of Polarathon, which I have not participated in before, but am contemplating participating this round, at least making a good attempt at it, because things are going to be crazy around here, and this readathon is only a week long, running from Monday, February 5th to Sunday, February 11th. A week alone doesn't give a whole lot of leeway for when things get really out of hand and I end up losing an entire evening of reading because I'm working on something requiring intense concentration, making even an audiobook impossible. Should I actually participate in the Polarathon, and at the moment I'm leaning heavily towards participating and giving it a good go, I would join Beth's team, which are the Arctic Foxes. I don't have any polar fantasies, or at least not any from reading summaries that I understand to be polar fantasies. So the Arctic Fox team would probably work out best because the team bonus is to read books with a blue cover, which I can handle. I have a few books with blue covers that I am interested in reading, and whittling some of those down to ones that I could more or less easily handle in a week of readathon instead of like 2 weeks or a month. Hopefully I can handle these in a week of readathon. So I have some options, my top 2 being Runebinder and Dragon Slayer. Runebinder by Alex R. Calher. Basically, this one, magic has come back to the world we are in, or in the setting of the book anyways, and humanity went a little too wild and destroyed civilization as it was known. I could totally see this happening here. 10 is a hunter who is fighting for humanity even though hope is basically gone, until one day 10 realizes he is basically a pawn in a larger game. And I'm told this book also has some LGBT elements, including gay romance, so we'll have to see. I'm kind of excited to get to that. I think the romance maybe with one of the people 10 realizes is using him as a pawn. So it might be an enemies to lover kind of romance. I'm kind of like extrapolating from what I've been told and what is in the synopsis of the book. So don't quote me on any of this stuff. I haven't read it yet. I don't know. While there don't seem to be any dragons, which is one of my things for fantasy books that I love to go after, there do seem to be other mythical creatures and magic, and our character is trying to save the world, which usually means large battles, so I'm totally in. Dragon Slayer by Duncan Hamilton. The synopsis for this one leads me to believe the main character, at least maybe kind of similar to the characters from Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. The main character, I'm going to try and pronounce this name, Gwillet? I'm not really sure how to say this. It's one of those funny fantasy spellings. Used to be a dragon slayer, but then the dragons went extinct. Who'd have thunk? We hunted these animals down wherever we could find them, and they're all gone. Oh no. Gwillet basically becomes a drunk. That is, until people go touching things they probably shouldn't be touching and exploring abandoned, forgotten places which shouldn't be explored, and whoops, we need a dragon slayer. But the only one left is Gwillet, So this sounds like it will at least have some giggles in there, and I could use a giggle, plus dragons. And this is, of course, the first book of yet another trilogy. So it'll get me started on yet another series. Maybe working my way to being able to finish 10 this year. I don't know. We'll see. For those times when I'm going to be doing things or driving to and from work and need an audiobook, would have loved to have thrown in one that I own, because I do have the challenge to get my audio TBR down to 0. However, this is apparently where I lack in books with blue covers, at least in terms of books that I have not read. Of course, I had like 3 or 4 that I own, but I've already listened to them, so they would be rereads and still not helping me get my audio TBR down to 0. So why not go out to Everand and find yet another audiobook that is the first of a series to start, right? This is how I never finish series. Anyways, out on Everand, I found The Iron Crown, which is a mostly blue cover, I think, by L.L. McRae, narrated by R.J. Bailey. Honestly, all I needed from this summary before I was like, I'm in, was basically the first paragraph, which reads, Fenn's first and only memory is finding himself in the middle of a forest, face to face with a dragon spirit mocking him. All knowledge gone apart from his own name. Say no more. I'm intrigued. I need more. I need to know what happens in this story. So this will be the audiobook that I will be listening to for basically next week. A few of the other books I'm hoping to read before this quarter finishes include Alloy of Law by Brandon Sanderson. I was gifted the Wax and Wane Omnibus forever ago, I feel like, but I think it was only 2 or 3 Christmases ago. And so I can at least read, the first one, get a start on it, and this will help me both, if I can finish the trilogy this year, really. It will help me finish my goal of completing 10 series, or catching up on 10 series, and getting rid of my gifted books, reading my gifted books, making that a priority, since I ask for books that I want and then I don't read the books that I am interested in. Why? I don't know. I am broken. Next, I would like to read Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. I have this on my priority TBR and absolutely loved Legends and Lattes, and I am predicting this, like Legends and Lattes, to be a 5-star read, because I was totally obsessed. I listened to Legends and Lattes. I have this in physical form, so I'm hoping that doesn't take away from it a little bit. Sometimes with audiobooks, I find I can be immersed more than reading it on my own, but we'll see how that goes. I am also, going to finally read Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett, for no other reason other than I've been putting this book on so many TBRs at this point, it's getting ridiculous. And then, because I was gifted the second book of the Foundry Side trilogy, I'm going to read Shorefall, because it's a gifted book, and so this will help me get down to, read my gifted books, and then I only have one more book in the trilogy before I've completed another series. Yay! I'm also hoping to read yet another gifted book, because I have a problem with asking for books and then not reading them. This next book actually won, I think it's SFFBO, the science fiction fantasy blog off run by Mark Lawrence a few years back, and I asked for it for Christmas, and I got Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang. Frick. I don't really remember much about what this book is supposed to be about, other than it sounded interesting at the time, and I mean, I wouldn't have asked for it if I didn't think I was actually going to read and enjoy the book, so I should probably pick up this book and read it. An audiobook. I am throwing on this TBR to get my audiobook TBR down to 0 is Spider Bite by Jennifer Esteep. I'm kind of scared for this one. I read and have reviews up for her Crown of Shards trilogy, which I absolutely loved. I ate it up. I loved it. I wanted to read more of her books, and so I think I may have found Spider Bite, or I had Spider Bite and I don't know, found the other trilogy by chance. One way or the other. I also have Spider Bite by Jennifer Esteep, and I'm excited for it. But this one is the first book of a series with like 19 full books so far, and several short stories and novellas as part of the series. So 19 full books plus a bunch of short stories and novellas, which means this is a really long series. I don't know that this will be one of the ones that I finish this year. But I also don't necessarily want it to be one of those series that I read the first book and then essentially shelve the series because I don't have the next book and then I forget everything. Because I have a few series I've noticed on my series tracker that I read the first book, enjoyed it back in like 2015 or 16, and then never picked up the next book because I didn't have access to it. So hopefully this will not fall into that whole gap and I will be able to somewhat at least keep up with the series. I'm getting better at using my reading tracker so far. We'll see. Another audiobook making the cut is Morrigan's Cross by Nora Roberts. This is the first book of a trilogy, and I have the other 2 books on audio, so I can binge the trilogy if I wanted to, but we're going to start with Morrigan's Cross, and this will help me get my audio TBR down, so yay! And complete another series, so 2 birds, 1 stone, so to speak. The last 2 books on this proposed TBR, I'm not sure I'm actually going to be able to get to them or not because this is a kind of large TBR. I kind of intended to make it a large TBR because I'm covering 2 months, but also one of those months is a slightly shorter month. Granted, February has 29 days this year instead of 28, but that's only 1 additional day, and a girl's still gotta work to eat and live and buy more books. So we'll see if I get to these last 2. These are not like solid on the TBR. The first one is a side book to a series. This is one of those the first one is a side book to a series that I was reading in like 2015 or 2016. I actually read like the first 2 or 3 books. I think there's a 4th yet that I haven't read in this series. I was not tracking well at this time, so I have to like dig deep through like my archives. I know I got the books from my library, so I might be able to find it in my library history. But the book is The Shadowed Past by Gail Z. Martin. This follows John Mark, who was kind of more like a side character. Like he was a main character, but he was like on the side in terms of main characters for her Necromancer series, which I think there's like 1 more book I technically need to read in the series. I need to figure that out. But I had asked for this one as a gift and got it and haven't read it. And then the last book I am crossing fingers, I'll get to, is Play It Away by Charlie Hone. This book I've been interested in reading for a long time. I just usually reach for something fiction, and this one is more nonfiction, talking about making work and life fun, and who doesn't need a little fun in their work and their life, because work and life are just boring. They're things that we have to do, and who likes doing stuff that we have to do? There's usually no fun in those. And this would help me get rid of another priority read that I made for 2024. I feel like I'm also doing good at least getting these books on TBRs so I can meet my goals. Hey! These are the books I'm hoping to read in February and March. If you are interested in seeing more bookish content from me, consider subscribing, and I'll see you next week in a new video. TTFN!